This Just the Facts video is about U.S. trade policy, and specifically about Trump's tariffs. In response to the U.S. trade deficit, President Trump has proposed large tariffs on other countries. These tariffs are harmful to the U.S., and there are better ways to address the trade deficit. In this short video, we will cover the trade deficit, how tariffs work, why Trump's tariffs are a terrible idea, and better policies to reduce the trade deficit. Before we dig in, it's important to understand that international trade is an important part of our economy. More than 40 million American jobs depend on trade. International trade also allows each country to focus on the products and industries that it does best, lowering costs and improving quality for everyone. It gives consumers more choices, such as fresh fruit in the winter, and gives U.S. businesses a bigger market for their goods and services. However, this can lead to a trade deficit. That's what's happening now in the U.S. So first, what is the trade deficit? A trade deficit occurs when a nation imports more than it exports. For instance, in 2024, the United States exported nearly $3.2 trillion in goods and services to other countries, while it imported $4.1 trillion, leaving an overall trade deficit of more than $900 billion. While economists disagree about how big of a problem this is, there are legitimate reasons to be concerned about a large and persistent trade deficit. For example, it may lead to job losses, and financing the deficit puts the U.S. in debt to other countries. It may also put the U.S. at risk by making us dependent on other countries for critical supplies. Donald Trump is using tariffs to try to reduce the trade deficit. So what are tariffs and how do they work? As shown on this diagram, without tariffs, an importer in the U.S. buys goods from an overseas manufacturer, marks them up to cover expenses and profit, and sells them to the consumer or other businesses. In this example, the overseas manufacturer charges $10 to make a shirt. The importer in the U.S. adds $10 markup, and the consumer pays $20. When a tariff is imposed, the importer pays the tariff to the U.S. government, and then usually passes it on to the consumer in the form of higher prices. This is why tariffs are often referred to as a tax on consumers. In this example, the U.S. importer is still paying the $10 to the manufacturer and adding the $10 markup. But they also have to pay the $5 tariff to the U.S. government, which usually gets added to the amount the consumer pays. So in this example, the government gets $5, but the consumer pays for it. The tariffs proposed by Trump are the highest since the 1940s. The last time tariffs went up like this, we got the Great Depression. So why are Trump's tariffs such a bad idea? There are lots of reasons. Here are three big ones. First, as we saw above, they are a tax on consumers. The Center for Economic Policy and Research points out that Trump's tariffs will give the country the most massive tax increase in its history, possibly exceeding $1 trillion on an annual basis, which comes to $7,000 per household. And this tax hike will primarily hit moderate and middle-income families. Second, they increase prices that cause inflation to go up. U.S. News and World Report has stated leading economists, largely critical of Trump's moves, warn that tariffs could destabilize global markets, disrupt trade, and ultimately increase costs for U.S. businesses and consumers. And third, they are reducing economic growth and could cause a recession. Tariffs make it harder for American manufacturers to buy the raw materials they need. In addition, other countries have proposed tariffs on U.S. goods in response, making it harder for U.S. companies to sell their products overseas. Trump's tariffs are a terrible idea. They will cost consumers money and hurt our economy. So what is a better way to address our trade deficit? Here are three better ideas. First, use tariffs selectively and in combination with industrial policy. The Roosevelt Institute observes that one of the major focuses of the Biden administration was using a mix of subsidy and tariff tools to make it more attractive to produce goods in the United States. Second, invest in critical U.S. industries. Biden's CHIPS Act is a great example, encouraging investment and innovation in semiconductors, which is a strategically important industry. And third, build a 21st century workforce by encouraging higher education and vocational training so that the U.S. can be competitive in strategic, high-value added jobs of the future. Bottom line, tariffs are not a good solution for America. They will drive up prices and hurt our economy. There are better ways to reduce the trade deficit while making our economy and our country stronger. If we want better policy, we need to elect better candidates by improving voter turnout. Join a Texas Blue Action training and learn how you can improve voter turnout just by talking to your friends and family who don't vote. For more information on tariffs, sources for all the facts in this video, and links to other Just the Facts videos, go to texasblueaction.com/justthefacts.